Here we have a review of the SH Figuarts Frieza 4th form. So taking a look at the packaging, we do have a nice view of the figure there on the inside, as well as his accessories, which do come with a halo, the shining Dragon Ball, several faces and hands, which we'll get into. We have some promo art here on the front. Continuing on to the side there, some additional promo shots there on the back. Nothing on the other side. Promo on the bottom and partial promo there on the top. And now to review the accessories for Frieza. So we do have 6 alternate hands in addition to the pair of fists that do come included on the figure, 2 alternate heads in addition to his smirking face, the crossed arms, halo, clutching feet, tail, and the 5-star shining Dragon Ball. So for the 5-star Shining Dragon Ball, this is a new set of Dragon Balls for the second set of Namek figures, which does have more of a glowing effect to it, but I will say does look pretty nice. You also have the tail here, which is not really an accessory, it's technically part of the figure, but it doesn't come attached to the figure out of the package. So I'm going to review it with the accessories and then again when I'm reviewing the figure. So we do have the single ball joint here at the base for the articulation. There's also some very subtle shading on the inner parts of the curves of the tail, which does look nice when it catches the light. We have our clutching feet here, which do have some of that subtle shading again there between the toes. We have the crossed arms, we have that nice metallic purple, and then some more of that shading here and there. Now for this one, the halo, I will say this is an odd inclusion because this is marketed as the 4th form Frieza from the Namek saga, and he doesn't have a halo during that arc. So it's an odd inclusion. It's really more of a cross between the Resurrection F Frieza figure that we've already received and the Namek Frieza, because we do have the Dragon Ball, but then we also have this. So I'm not mad that they've included it, but I will say it's odd considering the way that they have marketed it. Now we do have the open blast hands here. A pair of those. A pair of just open, relaxed hands. And again, we do have some of that subtle shading there. We have 2 pointing hands for the right hand, one with just the straight index finger, and then the other, which does have the curved index finger. No pointing hands for the left hand, these are both just for the right hand. We do have the gritted teeth face looking down. Again, that's nice metallic purple. Now one thing I did notice looking at the heads, there's no place to put the halo on these alternate heads. So on this one, as well as the screaming face, there's no place to put that halo, which again is an odd choice considering they're including this as an accessory, but only one of the heads, the smirking head that does come on the figure, has the spot for the halo. So I wish they would have, if they're going to include the halo, I wish they would have let you use it for all of the heads, but yeah, it's again, so a weird mix between the Namek, because for Namek, it doesn't have it, and if you want to have him screaming or gritting his teeth for any of those scenes, having a hole there, not really ideal, but then what's the point of having the halo? Now, honestly, I would have preferred they swap out the halo and give us a blast effect. We did get that with the Resurrection F Frieza, and that would have been more fitting here, but overall, the accessories are not bad. I just think they could have swapped this out for something better. Alright, now to review our tailless Frieza. So let's take a look at the paint and detailing first, then we'll add the tail and go through the articulation. So in terms of the paint, we do have a lot of that subtle blue shading in the muscles, here in the shoulders and the chest, in the biceps, forearms, hands, down in the abdomen, all throughout really, thighs, knees, feet, the back muscles have that same blue shading. So really nicely done with that shading. I think it adds a lot more definition to the figure, so it looks really good. In terms of detailing, so we do have the metallic purple for all the armored points on his body. And then we do have some nice back muscle there, which looks really good as well. So let's add the tail. It should just plug in, and there we go. Popped out on me. There you go. Very nicely. Right, so for our articulation, let's move that out of the way. For the head, you can look down just a little bit, but with this lower part of the neck, you can get a bit more of a lean just a little bit there. So total head articulation is about that far forward, not really anything backwards. Good on the side, good on the other side, full 360 there. For the shoulders, well over 90 on that upward, full 360 there. Can cross the chest about that far, not too bad. It's a decent range there. For the chest, so this armored part in the front does slide up and down, you can see. So it does move around a little bit, and that's to help with the articulation, just so it's not being too restrictive. Now if I can isolate, I'm going to move that tail off. So you can lean about that far back, and that far forward. A little bit of a twist there at that upper chest. For the waist, good twist there. You can do, yeah, full 360 if you wanted. About that far forward at the waist, that far back. So if we combine the chest and the waist, can lean that far forward and that far back, although we are exposing a gap here at the pelvis when we do it, but still a good range there. For our legs, so you can come up 90 on the side, no thigh swivel there. Guess that's more of an aesthetic choice. They didn't want to have a cut in it. This is a bit easier to hide because you have the armor there on the shoulder, and then you have the muscles, but they chose not to do a thigh swivel there. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Do see that it's exposing a bit of the joint when kicking back a little bit. Can kick almost 90 forward, not that far back. Again, exposure there. A decent range, a little more than 90 on the knee. And for our foot, can do a nice toe point there. And then little, and it's about flat. You can't really do much of a crunch on it, but you can get a nice, very nice flat back kick on that. Okay, in terms of swapping the feet, so one thing to keep in mind is the feet are labeled. Let me see if I can pop off this one first. There we go. So you see on the insides, it is labeled. Put that down. You can see it's an R inside there. So this is the right foot. I know with the cooler that the feet are not interchangeable, so you do have to be mindful of which foot is for the right and left, not just because of how it looks, but because they may not work with the peg if it's put on the wrong foot. But that does go on pretty easily and does look nice. And let's swap that back. All right, and lastly, you can put in the halo. It's giving me a little trouble getting that in. There we go. Right, and there we have him with his halo. Again, I would have preferred a blast effect over the halo because this is the Namek Frieza, but if you are so inclined, you can put that there. And let's pop his tail back on now that we're done going through the articulation. So overall, very good looking figure. Really like the shading on it. Articulation is not bad. could do some improvements. Thigh swivel, covering up that gap there when doing the backwards lean. But overall, very good looking figure. One thing I didn't touch on while reviewing the figure is the balance. This has actually been a challenge with all of the Frieza family, including Cooler. When you put the tail on, it does throw off the balance. So right now I actually am using the tail to prop him up. He is leaning back a little bit, but it does prop him up. However, if I lift this tail up at all, he's not going to be able to hold that stance. So you'd either need to use the tail to prop him up, have him lean far forward, give him a wider leg stance, or use a stand. But again, this has been a reoccurring issue with the Frieza family, so I do wish that Figuarts would resolve that by either including a stand with the figure, since this is a known issue, or by making the tail a little bit lighter so it doesn't throw off the balance as much. And for his height, Frieza does stand just under 4.5 inches tall. And for our size comparisons, here we have him next to the first form Frieza in his pod and Dodoria. And here we have him next to the Saiyan raised on Earth Son Goku and the Super Saiyan Full Power Son Goku. And here we have him next to Krillin Earth's Strongest Man and Kid Gohan with the Namek hairstyle. And here we have him next to Goldo from the Berter and Goldo 2-pack, the Scouter 2.0 Vegeta, the Bulma Journey to Namek, and Chaozu from the Tien Shinhan and Chaozu 2-pack. Overall, Frieza 4th form is a solid figure. He looks good, the shading's great, the accessories are decent, but he could use some improvement. Why do we have a halo with a Namek Frieza? Take that out and give me an energy blast instead. Or if you're going to give me a halo, make sure I can use it with all the heads. And the tail continues to be a problem for these characters. When you put the tail on, it makes them backwards heavy and just throws off the balance. So I really wish Tamashii Nations would address that and fix it going forward so it doesn't continue to be an issue. Now if you're curious on if you should buy him, if you have a previous release, probably don't really need him. You could probably just pass on him. Unless you want to get every figure in the line, then definitely get him. But if you don't have Frieza and you want him, then pick him up. He's a good figure. He's a solid figure. You could just use some improvements, and I'd like to see those addressed going forward. But again, very solid figure.